You're the very best friend I've ever had, and you're good fun. Hi there, this is Cricket talking to you. Have you ever been on a holiday? That's where you travel somewhere new and have all kinds of fun doing all kinds of different things you wouldn't normally do at home. On our last holiday, my whole family flew on a jet. Even my little brother. We went to a big city to visit my Aunt Jane. She lives high up in a tall block of flats. When I looked out of her living room window, I could see lots of tall buildings and bridges and tons of little boats on the river. I could see lots of cars and buses too, and trucks, and even some trains. And I could see about a zillion people walking around on the pavements. Only imagine this, they were so far down, they all looked like little teeny ants. The city is so big, I said to Aunt Jane. I'm sure it's easy to get lost. You're right, Cricket, said Aunt Jane. It can be very confusing sometimes. And then she sang a song to me about someone visiting the city for the first time. This is how it goes. I went to the city to buy a coat in a big department store, but I got lost in underwear on the 22nd floor. Oh, the lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. The street's so wide I called a cab just to get across, but I never got to the other side 'cause the driver, he got lost. Oh, the lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, the cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. I decided to take a stroll just around the park. Started out this morning and I didn't get back till dark. Oh, the lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. Remember I was talking about my Aunt Jane? Well, as soon as we arrived at her house, apartment, we met a man in a fancy uniform who helped us with our bags. This is Mr. Johnson, said Aunt Jane. He's our caretaker. If you ever need help, just ask Mr. Johnson. Then we all rode in a really fast lift up to the 23rd floor and did my tummy somersault. After lunch, my Aunt Jane said, Cricket, why don't you go down to the lobby and get our post from Mr. Johnson? OK, I said. Phew, that lift went even faster this time, and my tummy did somersaults again. The postman hadn't arrived yet, so Mr. Johnson and I waited for him outside. Then suddenly a car screeched and there was a lot of honking. I looked up, and what do you think I saw? There was the sweetest little poodle, and he was right in the middle of the road. Oh, Mr. Johnson, save him, I said. So Mr. Johnson rushed into the road, picked up the little poodle and brought him back safe and sound. That was a close call, young fella, said Mr. Johnson. Woof, woof, said the little poodle. Then I asked Mr. Johnson if I could hold him. And guess what? I think that little poodle really liked me because he started licking me all over. So I said to Mr. Johnson, Can I take him upstairs? I'm afraid not, Cricket, said Mr. Johnson. We're not allowed to have dogs in the building. He has to go home. But, I said, how will we find his owner? He doesn't even have a name tag. That's a problem, said Mr. Johnson. What shall we do? I know, I said. Maybe there's someone who knows where he lives. How about the postman, said Mr. Johnson. Here he comes now. Excuse me, sir, I said to the postman. Do you recognise this little poodle? Yes, said the postman. I think I do. That looks like Maxie. He lives right round the corner at Mrs. Silverman's house. Then all of a sudden, Maxie started barking and wriggling and wriggling and barking. Woof, 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 said Maxie. Woof, 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 woof. And then a lady came round the corner with a lead in her hand. It was Mrs. Silverman. Maxie, she called. Here, Maxie. And Maxie wriggled so hard, he jumped right out of my arms and ran straight to Mrs. Silverman. Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for finding Maxie, said Mrs. Silverman. I've been so worried about him. Don't thank me, said Mr. Johnson. It was Cricket here who spotted him. So Mrs. Silverman thanked me and said she wanted to give me a reward, but I asked her to get Maxie a name tag instead. "I'll do that right away," said Mrs. Silverman, and she took Maxie home, and that little poodle barked "Woof, woof, 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 woof," all the way. You know, it isn't just little dogs who have trouble crossing the street in the city. It's kids too. So I always cross the street with a grown-up. And of course, I know all about traffic lights. Red means stop, and green means go, and yellow means slow down. If you like, you can help me play a rhyming game with red and green. Listen carefully, and when I say, "because the light is," you say red or green. Let's try one and you'll see what I mean. A king stood on the corner, and next to him a queen. "You may go," I said to them, "because the light is." I hope you said green. Green means go. Let's try another one. A moose stood on the corner, the biggest I've ever seen. "You may go," I said to him, "because the light is." Green is the right answer. Green means go. Here's another one. A clown stood on the corner with a tulip on his head. "You must stop," I said to him, "because the light is." I hope you said red, because that's the right answer. Red means go. Here comes the last one. A bear stood on the corner. His name was Fearless Fred. "You must stop," I said to him, "because the light is." The answer is red. Red means stop. Remember that song Aunt Jane taught me about the city? Well, I'd like to teach it to you now. This is what you do. When I sing "The lift goes up and down," you go up on your toes, and then bend your knees and go down. When I sing "Revolving doors go round and round," put your arms straight out to the side and turn round and round. When I sing "The cabs in the street go beep, beep, beep," you pretend you're honking a car horn. We'll do it really slowly the first time. Ready? Here goes. The lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. The lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. Gosh, wasn't that good? We'll sing this song again after our story. Storybook adventures, they're the greatest kind. There's no end to all the fun you'll find. You can have adventures and still be safe at home with a storybook adventure of your own. This is a story about a little girl who lived in a high-rise in the middle of a big city. It's also about a funny green frog who lived in a big pond in the middle of a big park in the middle of the same city. If you like, you can play a city game in your activity book while you listen. One day, the little girl, who was a little lonely because she'd just moved to the big city, went to the park to play with her favourite ball. She began to play catch by herself because she'd no one else to play with. She threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and she threw the ball in the air and caught it, and threw the ball in the air and forgot to catch it. The ball bounced and then rolled and then dropped right into the pond. "Oh no!" cried the little girl. "There goes my favourite ball! How am I ever going to get it back?" Then suddenly she saw a funny green frog at the edge of the pond. "Ribbit, ribbit, what hit me, ribbit?" said the frog. "I'm sorry, Froggy," said the little girl. "My favourite ball just fell into your pond." "Well then," said the frog, "I'll bring your ball back to you, ribbit, if you will only grant me one wish." The little girl was so surprised, she didn't even wonder why a frog was talking like a little boy. "Okay, Froggy," she said, "I'll give you whatever you wish. How about 2 pennies and a pencil and half a banana sandwich and an old comic I've read about 5 times. You see, those were the only things she could find in her pockets. I don't want your money, said the frog, and I don't want your pencil, and I don't want your sandwich, Ribbit, and I don't want your comic book. But I do want you to take me home and let me be your friend. I promise to take you home with me, said the little girl, if you bring back my ball. So the funny green frog dived down deep into the pond. He swam round and round and finally brought back the little girl's ball. The little girl was so happy to have her favourite ball again, she ran all the way home and forgot to take the little frog with her. Ribbit, Ribbit, cried the little frog, but the little girl was gone. Later that evening, the little girl was having dinner with her father high up in the tall block of flats in the middle of the big city. Suddenly, they heard a strange sound outside their door. Little girl, Ribbit, said a croaky little voice. Ribbit, little girl, you promised to take me home with you. Who's that at the door, my dear? The little girl's father asked. It's a funny green frog, father, she said. He rescued my favourite ball for me, and I promised to take him home, but then I forgot. Well, promises are important, the little girl's father said, so let the frog come in. The little girl opened the door and said, Come in, Froggy. I'm sorry I ran off without you. That's all right, Ribbit, said the frog, but I've had such a long climb up all those stairs, and I wondered if I could have a bite to eat, and then perhaps a nice little nap. Can Froggy stay? The little girl asked her father. Of course he can, her father said. The little girl was so happy to have a friend at last, she made a place for the frog in her very own room. First, she filled a big bowl full of water, and then she put the bowl on her windowsill, and then she put the frog in the bowl. Oh, Ribbit, this is lovely, said the funny green frog. I can see all the lights of the city. Yes, said the little girl, and if you look down below, you can see your pond too. Then she blew the frog a kiss and laughed and said, Good night, sweet prince. Next morning, the little girl jumped out of bed bright and early. She was so looking forward to playing with her new friend. But when she looked into the bowl, what do you think? The funny green frog was gone. But there was a note that said, Come down to the pond as soon as you can. So the little girl took her favourite ball and went down to the big pond in the middle of the big park in the middle of the big city. She began to play catch by herself because she had no one else to play with. She threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and threw the ball up in the air and forgot to catch it. The ball bounced and rolled, and then, I've got it, said the little boy playing by the pond. Oh, thank you, said the little girl. Would you like to play catch with me? Ribbit, said the little boy. And so they did, and the little girl was so happy to have a friend again, she didn't even wonder how in the world a boy could talk like a little frog. Wasn't that a sweet story? And now, before we leave the city, let's sing our city song once more. Remember, up and down, then round and round, then honk the horn. Oh, the lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. I decided to take a stroll just around the park. I started out this morning and I didn't get back till dark. Oh, the lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. Oh, the lift, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, the cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go to town. If you like, you can turn my tape over now and we'll visit a farm. I'm so glad we visited the city together. I've had a wonderful time. Just remember, I'll be talking to you.